What's going on, guys, and welcome to episode 271 of Hashtag AskGSM here today for February 6th, 2019. I am Graham GSM Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well, and we are well on the road to WrestleMania 35. I'm actually currently in the process of making all the arrangements necessary to attend the grandest stage of the year, the show of shows, the granddaddy of them all, whatever you want to call it. I was there for WrestleMania 33 weekend. Jason and I went to TakeOver, Access, Mania. I'm looking to do even more this year. I already have my tickets for the Ring of Honor New Japan show at MSG, which I talked about last week here on the show. I ordered those tickets months ago. And just this morning, I ordered my tickets, and this might be a bit of a breaking news update for those that don't follow me on Twitter. I have since ordered my tickets for Raw at the Barclays Center the night after WrestleMania. I've never been to a post-WrestleMania Raw before. I've been wanting to go for years now. No better time than now, considering WrestleMania is in pretty much my backyard in New York. I live in Connecticut, but it's so close, how can I not go? So I have since ordered the tickets for the Raw after WrestleMania. I'm going to the Ring of Honor show. I'm currently in the process of getting my tickets for WrestleMania and TakeOver, so more on that as it unfolds in the days and weeks ahead. That all being said, guys, I am very excited for WrestleMania. Raw and SmackDown this weekend, not too great, but at least NXT continues to kill it. We're talking all about the latest happenings in WWE and so much more on today's edition of Hashtag AskGSM. If you want to send in a question to the show, you can tweet me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Graham.GSM.Matthews. Leave a comment on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section of this very video. I'll include it in next week's edition. So without further ado, let's get started here first with @TheMichaelAmel from Twitter. With WrestleMania 36, 100% in Florida, which city do you think will host? Is it really 100% confirmed that WrestleMania 36 is going to be in Florida? I highly doubt that. Now, I've read the rumors that Mania 36, they were pitching it for Florida, but dude, they were just there 3 years ago. They were there 2 years ago. But to be there 3 years after they were there for Orlando is a bit ridiculous. Now, I know they were there for in Miami for WrestleMania 28. They went back to Florida 5 years later for WrestleMania 33 in Orlando. And they were there for WrestleMania 24 in Orlando years before that. That's a bit different in my opinion. That's at least 5 years difference. It's only been 3 years. Spread the wealth a little bit. I love Florida. I would love to go back to Florida and visit, go to WrestleMania in Miami. I think that'd be awesome. But it's a little too soon in my opinion. I know Minnesota is way too fucking cold, but they have been in the process, or have at least been trying to get WrestleMania for several years now, at least as far as I understand. Maybe next year is the year they finally lock down WrestleMania. Usually around this time, we kind of sort of know where WrestleMania is going to be. It is not yet confirmed where WrestleMania is going to be for WrestleMania 36. Even at this time last year, it took them until fucking March to announce that WrestleMania was going to be in New York. But it was pretty much set in stone by that point that WrestleMania was going to the New York area, back to MetLife. So I can't say I'm surprised in that respect. But at least at this point, I have heard no discussions of where WrestleMania might be come the spring of 2020. So I'm not sure. I guess we'll soon find out. It might be in Florida, but let's say it is in Florida. I don't think it will be. You're saying 100% confirmed. I doubt that. Nothing's ever 100%, first of all. Second of all, I don't think it's going to Florida. Third of all, if they were in Florida, I think it would be Miami. I don't think they've ever been anywhere else in Florida except for Miami or Orlando. I saw someone tweet me last night saying Tampa. I mean, maybe. I'm not sure. I doubt it. I think it's either going to be Orlando or Miami. Probably Miami. That's, if I had to take a guess, it'd probably be Miami. But again, they were just there in 2017. Take a bit of a break from Florida. Go somewhere else, even if it's not as nice of a tourist attraction. Listen, New York, not amazing. It's really not. I don't really want to go to New York in the middle of spring. It's probably going to be cold. Yes, it was just 50 this past week, but it was fucking 20 degrees days before that. So the fact that it's not going to be nice in Minnesota, who gives a shit? People can bundle up and then get over it, okay? Minnesota deserves to get a WrestleMania. It would be weird if they finally get a WrestleMania and Brock Lesnar's not there for it. That would be a bit strange. I think he would be. I mean, we're not exactly sure what his current contract status is. But if it's not Minnesota, I don't know where else they would go. Maybe back to California, which is where they were for 2015 in 2015 for WrestleMania 31. I can certainly see that as a possibility. Beyond California, again, I'm sure I've read rumors of where WrestleMania 36 might end up. I forget. They haven't been recent rumors, I'll say that much. I'm sure we'll find out more in the coming weeks and months. But if it is in Florida, which again, I highly doubt it will be, I will eat my hat if WrestleMania 36 goes to Florida. And my nice hat, too. I think it would be Miami. That's my guess. At Jeremy8911 from Twitter, his first question was, what are your thoughts on my idea of moving Shelton Benjamin to Raw and pairing him with Bobby Lashley and Lio Rush? That's not a bad idea. Anything, honestly, is better than having him just flounder on SmackDown. Yeah, he was in the Rumble. We haven't seen him since, and he had not been seen on SmackDown prior to that point since fucking, October. I remember he beat Daniel Bryan on a one-off episode of SmackDown, and that was it. We never saw the guy on SmackDown after that. And people were clamoring for Shelton Benjamin to be back in WWE. And the guy has done nothing since he's been back. Yeah, he was in the tag team with Chad Gable, which went nowhere. And he's been doing nothing ever since Chad Gable went to Raw. So, I don't know. I think moving him to Raw in the next Superstar Shakeup would be a good idea. Moving him now would be kind of a waste, but maybe they can wait until after WrestleMania. Then again, I heard rumors after WrestleMania last year they might start doing something with Mike Kanellis. That never happened. That never amounted to anything. So, I know this isn't really a rumor. This is your fantasy booking scenario here. But yeah, I would move Benjamin to Raw and pair him off with Lashley and Lio Rush, because why the fuck not? Why not? I think Lashley and Rush as an act alone is good. Maybe adding Benjamin in there as a tag team unit or as the guy who gets beat up while Lio Rush does the talking. It might not be a bad idea. It might not be a bad idea at all. Not to make a racist comparison or anything along those lines, but Impact had a similar stable about 4 or 5 years ago with Bobby Lashley, MVP, who I think in this role would be Lio Rush, and Kenny King, who in this case would be Shelton Benjamin. Now, yes, all 6 people are black, or 5 people, because Bobby Lashley was in both factions. It's not really having to do with the fact that everyone was black. It has to do with the fact that I thought it was a good group that worked, and you have the mouthpiece, the heavy, and the guy that can go in the ring. Shelton Benjamin can be in the role, can be slotted in the role of Kenny King, and be the guy that goes in the ring. So I like that idea a lot, and hopefully we could see that shortly after WrestleMania. I'm not speculating that. I don't expect that to happen, but I think it'd be a good idea. Jeremy's second question here. Could you see the Elimination Chamber match for the WWE Championship coming down to Daniel Bryan and Mustafa Ali? I absolutely could. Listen, we saw a Chamber match 6 years ago come down to Daniel Bryan and fucking Santino Marella. So anything is bound to happen. Honestly, that's my prediction. I think it is coming down to Bryan and Ali. Guess who else would it come down to? Bryan and AJ again? Unless AJ's winning the belt back, which I don't think he will or should, honestly, at this point, I think Ali is your best bet. Orton, fellow heel? No. Samoa Joe would be cool, but no. Randy Orton? No. That's 3. Who else is in the match? Jeff Hardy? We know he's not winning, so no. Yeah, I think Ali's your best bet. I really do. I think Ali and Bryan in there, I think would be a great mix. So, yeah, I think Ali will be the last one in there with Daniel Bryan. He might come close. He might even win the match. That's not honestly as far-fetched as people think. It really isn't. I could see Bryan and Ali being a WWE Championship match. I know I said a week ago it couldn't be, but the more I heard people like Monster talk about it, and the more I saw Mustafa on SmackDown this week, and the more I thought about, okay, will we actually get John Cena and Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania? I feel like if we were getting that match, we would have seen Cena on SmackDown by now. Yeah, he made a one-off SmackDown appearance at the beginning of the year, and that was it. And the guy went out to film more movies. So that could still happen. It could still happen. We still could get Bryan and Cena at WrestleMania, which I think is a bigger match. But if Cena can't go, or if he faces Drew McIntyre instead, honestly, Bryan and Ali is not a bad idea. It really isn't. It's not WrestleMania worthy, in terms of star power, but if they can build up Ali enough between now and then, why the fuck not? As long as it doesn't kick off the show, I see no reason to not do that match. So, yeah, I could absolutely see the Chamber coming down to Bryan and Ali, with either guy winning. His third question here, do you think we'll get another member added to Daniel Bryan's group? And if so, who would you like to see added? I would like to see Sami Zayn added. I think so. I think it might be more than just Bryan and Rowan. Obviously, the most likely answer would be Luke Harper. Because if he's not paired back up with Eric Rowan as part of the Bludgeon Brothers when Harper's clear to return, he's clear to compete again, then I don't know what you do with Harper. And it's not push him on his own. They tried that. It didn't work. For no fault of his own, it was completely WWE's fault. Harper was getting over as a singles guy about 2 years ago, and they pulled the plug on his push for whatever reason. And the guy disappeared from TV before reuniting with Eric Rowan soon after. So I would like to see him pushed on his own. I don't think they would ever do that. Otherwise, they would have done that by now. They also tried a few years ago when he was Intercontinental Champion, and that also went nowhere. So yeah, I would put him with either Rowan or Harper, or not Harper, he is Harper. I would put him either with Rowan or Bryan or both. So he would probably be the most likely next addition to that group. Sami Zayn would be a nice addition. I think Bryan and Zayn don't really need to be a tag team because they want Zayn to be his own guy. I feel like for almost all of his career, he's been attached at the hip to someone else, whether it be Kevin Owens or Bryan in this case. The guy should just go out and do his own thing. So I want Ali, or not Ali, I'm looking at the previous question. I want Zayn on his own. It wouldn't be a bad idea. Hey, you know what? If it gets Zayn off of Raw and away from Kevin Owens, I think that's a great idea. So if that's what it takes, then so be it. But, Zayn has a similar character / mindset about the world and how people work and the environment. So it would make sense from a storyline standpoint, especially if Zayn is still heel. But at the same time, I do want Zayn to be his own guy and not be like a lackey for Daniel Bryan the same way that Eric Rowan is. It could work if done the right way. I just don't have enough faith in the company to do right by that stable featuring Sami Zayn. In the fourth question of Jeremy's was, with the next superstar shakeup rumored to be the international shakeup, could you see some NXT UK stars getting called up? There was a lot of confusion about this on Twitter on Monday, so an ad aired on Monday's Raw in the UK market, whatever it was, that the Superstar Shakeup was being held on the same week as it is every year, the week after WrestleMania, in England. So they're going to be in Europe the week that they do the Superstar Shakeup. I was at the Superstar Shakeup the past 2 years, actually. I was at the SmackDown one in 2017, the Raw one in 2018. This year, I am not flying to England to go to the Superstar Shakeup, unfortunately. That'd be cool, though. I think they're just calling it the International Shakeup because it's taking place overseas. And the ad made no mention of, NXT guys being included. I mean, they usually are. McIntyre got shaken up to Raw last year, whatever. Andrade, same thing on SmackDown. So, anyway, I think that only pertains to Raw, SmackDown, maybe NXT, not really 205 Live. Maybe 205 Live, but definitely not NXT UK. I could be wrong. But I feel like people are reading too much into it and seeing the international word in there and thinking, it's going to feature every brand, including NXT UK. I mean, they're in England, so we could, realistically see Pete Dunne show up on Raw as the newest member of the Raw roster. I think that's very possible. And there are a few people on the NXT UK roster I would love to see on Raw or SmackDown, but I don't think Pete Dunne's getting called up as long as he's the WWE United Kingdom champion, and I don't think they're doing another UK takeover until at least May or June. So that being said, I don't think the international shakeup pertains to NXT UK. I think the only reason why they worded it as such was because it was taking place over in England. Again, I could be wrong, but that was my understanding of it. At ZiggyFan1 from Twitter, do you think we'll ever get any kind of Ali title reign this year? I think so, absolutely. I think Ali is good enough where he's bound to hold some sort of championship gold. My guess would be the United States Championship. In fact, spoiler alert, I'm writing an article on Sunday for Bleacher Report about way too early predictions for WrestleMania in terms of match outcomes and stuff that might happen. A prediction that I have on the list is Mustafa Ali leaving WrestleMania as the United States Champion. Now, again, they could always do Ali and Bryan for the WWE title. That is still a possibility. That's not what I think is going to happen. I still think it could be Bryan and Cena. Got to give it more time to develop. But if not Ali, I could absolutely see him being in the U.S. Championship match at WrestleMania. And he should be. I think it's a better fit for him than going for the fucking, Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal trophy. I think that'd be stupid. But I think he should leave WrestleMania, if not the WWE champion, at least as the United States champion. And I think it'd be a great moment. So, yeah, either that, the WWE title, people still say that's a possibility. And it could happen. Ali, if built up the right way, could be a viable WWE champion. So Ali is WWE champion, definitely United States champion, maybe even a tag team champion with Rey Mysterio or someone like that. Could happen. So, I do think we will get an Ali title reign at some point or another in 2019. At Reborn Again from Twitter, do you think WWE should scrap Fastlane and just have Elimination Chamber as the final big show before WrestleMania? I've said this before, we should have no shows between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. I know that's a bit of a bold opinion. I feel like it is, because I feel like not enough people say that. I've been saying this for years now. The February pay-per-views have not served a purpose in a fucking decade, if not longer. Name me the last great February pay-per-view, or March pay-per-view, aside from WrestleMania, that we have gotten in recent memory. Every installment of Fastlane has largely sucked. Last year's was passable. Largely, by and large, the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view has sucked in recent years. Fastlane has sucked in recent years. Why do we need those pay-per-views? Rarely anything of note ever happens at those B-level shows. So why even bother having them? Why not just do whatever matches you would do at those pay-per-views on Raw or SmackDown, thus making them more must-see en route to WrestleMania? I know, what a fucking concept. But like they would do that back in the day, it made Raw more must-see. And yeah, they had February pay-per-views back in the early 2000s, but that's when they actually put effort into making those pay-per-views must-see. Like the early No Way Out shows in like 2000, 01, 02 were fucking phenomenal. And then they fell off a cliff by like 05, 06, 07, and they haven't been the same since. I just don't give a shit about them. I feel like they feel like they have to fill every month of the pay-per-view, which is just not true. You do not need any interim pay-per-views between the Rumble and WrestleMania, because they largely serve no purpose. Like, what was the last real big thing happen? The last big thing to happen at a February or March pay-per-view that wasn't WrestleMania? Edge winning the World Championship? Like, that was 10 years ago. So, I feel like they really do not need to happen. At the very least, I would scrap Fastlane. I'm shocked that pay-per-view's still around. And then put Chamber at the end of February and not have it 3 weeks after the Rumble. Because the pay-per-view is like next Sunday. It's such a rush build. They don't need the pay-per-view. Yeah, it looks like a good card on paper. But like they're scrambling to put together matches for the show. Like Ronda Rousey and Ruby Riott, which we've seen before. Why do it again? Why? Just to have a Raw Women's Championship match for the pay-per-view? Who gives a fuck? Who cares? So I think it's one giant waste. And they don't need to have a pay-per-view between now and WrestleMania. 2, let alone 1. So, again, I would scrap both shows in a perfect scenario. John's second question here. Do you think there will be a Mae Young Classic 3 tournament this year? More importantly, do you think they should have it, or do you think they have too many women already that they don't already use that well? Yes, I do think they should bring back the Mae Young Classic. The last 2 tournaments were great. The second one even better than the first, in my opinion. I thought the second installment of the Mae Young Classic last summer/last fall was tremendous, including the finals with Toni Storm winning. I think it's a great tournament. It's a great showcase for the women. Yeah, they don't use every woman outside of the tournament well, but like a lot of women get contracts out of that tournament. But like they always, necessarily, they do not have to sign these women to contracts. Like Madison Rayne would have been a great pickup. For whatever reason, they didn't sign her. So she didn't go. It's not like they signed everybody from the Mae Young Classic. So yeah, it doesn't really matter if they use the women that well. They can still do the Mae Young Classic. They don't have to sign all these new women if they don't want to. They really don't. So I would do another Mae Young Classic. Maybe just use the women you have and some outsider women that you don't have to sign to a contract. Like, I don't know how many times they can bring in Mercedes Martinez just to lose in the Mae Young Classic, but they're not going to sign her too. But that being said, they don't have to sign any more women. They don't have to sign any more women. And also, they can use the women they're not using that well right now in the tournament and give them an opportunity to showcase their skills, kind of break out, show the people what they're made of. I think it's a great idea. I've always liked the idea of a women's tournament. The last 2 were tremendous. I see no reason to not do a third. And John's third question here, what 2004 title win do you feel was more emotional? Eddie Guerrero's in No Way Out 2004 or Chris Benoit's at WrestleMania 20? That's a very good question. What was more emotional? Obviously, in retrospect, it would be Eddie's, just because Benoit has since been erased from WWE history, at least in WWE's eyes. Even that notwithstanding, I would still go with Eddie's. I really would. Benoit's was great. It was an amazing match. I think the triple threat with with Chris, Triple H, and Shawn Michaels was a better match than Guerrero versus Lesnar. But I thought Guerrero versus Lesnar, people still look back at that moment. I mean, again, Benoit's is different. People would probably still be talking about it inside of WWE if Benoit didn't do what he did. But even still, I feel like Guerrero's had like an everlasting impact on people in the industry to this day. Guerrero just had a bigger impact on WWE than Benoit ever did, regardless of whether he was erased or not. Benoit was a legend in the ring. But Guerrero, I just feel like he had a better impact. He was a better character. He was a better talker. It had a better build-up. It was a better moment. Yeah, it should have been saved for WrestleMania. But the whole thing, I don't know. I feel like the triple threat was a better match. But my gut is saying that Guerrero's title win at No Way Out 2004 was just a better moment. It was just more emotional. People have been rallying behind Eddie to become that world champion for a long time. He finally got his just due. Yeah, his reign wasn't anything out of the ordinary. Same thing with Benoit. I don't know. I feel like Benoit's title win is kind of up on a pedestal, and it is, and it deserves to be, regardless of what he did later on in his life. But I feel like it might be remembered more just because it happened at WrestleMania. If Eddie's happened at WrestleMania, without a doubt, this wouldn't even be a question that Eddie's was a better moment than Benoit's. Benoit's might be a better moment because his family was there. Eddie was there to congratulate him. He celebrated with him. I still say Eddie. I don't know, just my gut says Eddie. It has nothing to do with Benoit. I just feel like Eddie's moment was better. Brock had been built up as this dominant beast, and really very few people had beaten him by that point in one-on-one action in WWE. The only other people being like Kurt Angle and The Undertaker. No, I don't even think The Undertaker ever beat him. I think it was just Kurt Angle, Big Show. And that might have been it. Very few people aside from those guys beat Brock Lesnar one-on-one, ever pinned Brock Lesnar. So for Eddie to do so in that setting, in front of that crowd, after that build-up, I felt like was just all the stars aligning to make for a perfect moment. So I got to go with Eddie's moment here. At OK being OK from Twitter. It's a great handle. Their question was, why is WWE hell-bent on introducing Charlotte into the Raw Women's Championship match when it is absolutely unnecessary? It's because they think that every history-making match has to feature either Charlotte or Sasha Banks. And I love Charlotte, I love Sasha Banks, but God forbid they have a history-making match with the women that doesn't involve either of them. Like, Ronda's a big enough star that they can sell people on that match. I know I said a few months ago, oh, Becky and Ronda's not a WrestleMania-worthy match. Obviously, my mind changed on that because Becky got a lot hotter, and she maintained her momentum and became even a bigger star after the injury. That was different than it was like 4 or 5 months ago. But Charlotte is not needed in this match. They can still blow up the Charlotte-Ronda or the Charlotte-Becky feud between now and WrestleMania, either at Elimination Chamber or at Fastlane. So, I mean, again, I'm not going to say, it benefits to have 2 pay-per-views between now and Mania, because they could always do the fucking match on TV if they wanted to. But anyway, with Charlotte, no, they don't need her. They don't need her. They love Charlotte. She's like the Roman Reigns of the women's division. I think a bit more bearable than Roman Reigns is, and I like Roman Reigns, but his booking has been atrocious. Charlotte's is not nearly as bad, because at least they've seen to turn her heel. She's been a bit of a bitch since like Survivor Series, so it's a bit different. At least they're willing to embrace her inner heel compared to Roman Reigns. But anyway, I think they're hell-bent on introducing Charlotte into the title picture just because, yeah, it does make sense because she does have unfinished business with Becky and Ronda, but I feel like Becky and Ronda is the real attraction. Charlotte is just an added bonus, but she is not necessary. Like you said, she is not necessary. You can always do that match. You know, why not fucking do it at the fucking next pay-per-view, a Backlash, or whatever the April pay-per-view is, or the May pay-per-view? Why not do that? I don't see why not. Like, they did a Backlash, I think at 06. So at WrestleMania 22, they did Cena and Triple H. At the next pay-per-view, they did Cena, Triple H, and Edge. Why not do the same? They could have done that match at WrestleMania if they wanted to. But they didn't, because Cena and Edge still had their thing going at that point. They didn't. So why not do the same thing here, where it's Becky and Ronda at WrestleMania, Becky beats Ronda, and none of this shit where, like, I understand where people are coming from when they say this. Well, like, oh, if you have Charlotte in there, it means that Becky can win the belt without pinning Ronda Rousey. Who gives a shit if Ronda Rousey gets pinned? Honestly, I've said this before. Yeah, they should maintain Ronda Rousey's undefeated streak, but I'm telling you, if it's not Becky Lynch, who else can beat Ronda Rousey? Like, I know realistically, Becky beating Ronda is not, like, realistic enough, but no one is hotter in WWE right now, and no one has ever been hotter in WWE in terms of female stars, at least in my opinion, than Becky Lynch is at this very moment. So if it's not Becky Lynch, then who the fuck is going to beat Ronda? Especially if Ronda's leaving after WrestleMania or taking time off, which I think is a very real possibility. I would have Becky win clean 1, 2, 3. Ronda will not be destroyed. Her credibility will not be in the toilet. It's a different story than with Asuka last year, who I thought they should have had, undefeated for longer. I did not think that Charlotte needed that victory. I thought it was the wrong time to pull the trigger on ending the streak. This is the right time for Ronda to lose. I feel like it's the right time for her to lose. It's the right story to tell. Becky can benefit big time, and she's already a big star. But she can benefit big time from beating Ronda clean one-on-one without pulling the shit about like, oh, she pinned Charlotte but not Ronda. And then it's like nothing is ever really solved. Because then what? You're going to do Becky and Ronda the next pay-per-view then and not at WrestleMania? Like, it makes no sense. So I would keep it Becky and Ronda one-on-one and keep Charlotte out of the picture. And maybe do the three-way either at another pay-per-view, the next pay-per-view on TV, who gives a shit? But I would not do it at WrestleMania. The real main event, the first ever all-women's main event at WrestleMania should be one-on-one, Becky versus Ronda. Their second question, do you see a six-man Hell in a Cell or Elimination Chamber match being set up for the next TakeOver in a winner-take-all stipulation with Gargano, Ciampa, Ricochet, Black, Dream, and Cole? Yeah, it's a possibility after what we saw at Halftime Heat, which was an awesome match, by the way. I got to tune in live. It was a great match. I could certainly see them setting up some sort of six-man match for the next TakeOver. The issue then becomes, what the hell do you do with the rest of the card? Because if you do that, you take up two titles. The North American Championship and the NXT title. Yeah, you have Matt Riddle on the undercard, but like, you're not going to do Matt Riddle and Cassius Ohno again. And you have a tag title match. You have the women's match. I don't know, I feel like they would need at least one more match to make it a full card. Even if they give the main event like a half an hour or so. I'm not sure. So I would have that be the main event. And then if you do that as the main event, you have the tag title match. You have the women's match. Maybe Matt Riddle and Dominic Dijakovic. I'm not exactly sure who else you would do in that spot. So I think it'd be an amazing match, and it would make the most sense because all six guys are like feuding right now. All six guys feel like they're feuding right now. But also, if it's not that match, what else do you do? Like, Gargano and Ciampa seems to be the most likely route they might take, with Gargano turning on Ciampa between now and WrestleMania weekend. That's only 2 months away. And if it's not that, maybe Ricochet and Ciampa might be way too quick to build up. Black and Ciampa we've seen before. Dream and Ciampa we've seen before. I know Dream has a title shot, so I don't know. I feel like it's a slap in the face to Dream too. He got a title shot. What about these other guys? Gargano's beat multiple times. Ricochet earns a title shot. He just lost the championship, so why does he deserve an NXT title match? Aleister Black just got beat clean. Adam Cole wasn't even on the last TakeOver, so them getting added into the match for no reason kind of is a slap in the face to Dream, who earned his title shot by winning the Worlds Collide tournament. I don't know. They can always make sense out of it some way. NXT, I always have full faith in them to do the right thing. It would be an amazing match on paper. In terms of execution of the card and how they get from point A to point B, I don't know, but that's what's going to make the road to WrestleMania, the road to TakeOver, all the more exciting. So I can see that as a possibility. Elimination Chamber would be... I don't see them doing that because they're doing a pay-per-view of the same name a fucking month before that, so probably not. Hell in a Cell would be cool. Hell in a Cell between Gargano, Ciampa, Ricochet, Black, Dream, and Cole, I think would be amazing. I don't think they'll actually do it, but it would be an amazing, attraction for WrestleMania weekend. A lot like the six-man ladder match was last year for the NXT North American title, so we'll see. And the final few questions here come from @Scarlet1 from the Twitter machine. Thoughts on Dean Ambrose, and if you think he's upset over his booking in WWE, or, and this is something that Booker T theorized, he's simply burnt out from wrestling in general. I think it's a bit of both. I do. I'm surprised no one asked me about Dean Ambrose last week. I talked about it in full length, like for over a half an hour on Wrestle Rant Radio last week. On Wrestle Rant Radio last week. So, for my full thoughts on Dean Ambrose's likely departure and his contract expiring in April and how it affects Renee Young, etc., check out Wrestle Rant Radio from last Thursday. But in a nutshell, it's a shame Ambrose is a big star, but I'm not like it's not surprising, but it's disappointing. Like, for whatever reason, I love Ambrose. I'm a big Ambrose fan, but for whatever reason, this news doesn't, impact me as heavily as I thought it would. Like, to me, this just kind of makes sense. Like, when Punk left out of nowhere, that impacted me heavily. Like, even when Austin Aries left or got quit, depends on who you talk to. Even when that news broke, I was kind of disappointed. Like, man, he didn't really accomplish anything. Why did he get fired so quickly? Why did he get released? Blah, blah, blah. That was just bizarre. With Dean Ambrose, it's like the guy's been booked so poorly in recent months. and this goes back far, a lot further than just since his return in August. I think that combined with the fact he's been on the road to this company nonstop aside from the 8 months he spent on the sidelines with an injury, that in addition to the time that he's been on the road with them for, he just might be burnt out. And I think it's time for him to step away, albeit either briefly or for a long period of time. He may never come back. He may never wrestle again. I think time will certainly tell. I mean, if he's really that burned out, he won't go to All Elite Wrestling. If he's not burned out at all, he's going to go right to All Elite or Ring of Honor or Japan or back to the Indies, whatever. So we'll soon see. I think it's a bit of both. He might just need a bit of a break. Like, Punk was burned out and he hasn't wrestled since. And that was 5 years ago. So, again, we'll find out in the next couple of months what's going on with Dean Ambrose and where he's going after WrestleMania. I think his contract is expiring come April, but we'll find out in due time. But I do think that Ambrose is going to take a bit of a break, and I don't blame him whatsoever for being upset with his booking in WWE. I mean, again, he's been booked like shit for the most part. Yeah, he's a former Grand Slam champion. How can he be upset? Like, dude, it's not all about title wins. It's all kayfabe anyway. The guy's character has been so underutilized for such a long time now. I do not blame him one bit for wanting to leave. One bit. So we'll find out eventually, but I think it is a bit of both. And come May, if he shows up in Las Vegas at All Elite Wrestling, then it's guaranteed. Oh, he's not really all that burned out. He is just sick of his booking in WWE, and he wants to go to greener pasture somewhere else. Scarlett, 1 second question. Thoughts on Halftime Heat, and did you hear anything about the Super Bowl halftime show? Well, I talked about it briefly before, but I thought Halftime Heat was great. It's such a cool concept, and I'm honestly surprised they have not done another one since 1999, until just obviously this past Sunday. But yeah, it was a real cool concept to film it from the Performance Center live. There weren't fans there per se. I think it was just the wrestlers and their families. So it's not like they're inviting fucking strangers into the PC. So I think that type of match would not have been as good as it was if there wasn't anyone in the arena. So I'm glad they had a crowd there. They were lively, the crowd, or the wrestlers went all out and just putting on the best show possible. And that's exactly what it needed to be. It needed to be a showcase for how great the talent of NXT are and to show them what they're missing out on if they're not regular viewers of the product. So I thought that was really, really smart to do it during halftime, and all eyes would be on the network and on YouTube, and people are on their phones anyway. That was super smart. So loved Halftime Heat. Easily the best match I saw all week, bar none. And then my thoughts on the Super Bowl halftime show. Well, so I was at work during the Super Bowl. I have not seen a full Super Bowl game, a full Super Bowl, since like maybe 2016. I know last year I was working as well. The year before that, I stayed in my dorm to work and fucking work on homework. Yeah, I didn't watch the game whatsoever. I saw some highlights, but I did not watch the game. I could not have cared less. The year before that, I think RJ invited me over. I saw it over at his place. Year before that and the year before that, I watched it from my dorm with my roommate. And then the years before that, I didn't watch it at all when I was in high school. So I really am not a big Super Bowl guy. I don't go all out for it. I really don't give a shit. If I was home, maybe I'd have some food and stuff. But beyond that, I really don't care about the game whatsoever. I'm not going to be one of those people that pretends to care about football for one out of the year. But when it comes to the halftime show, did I hear anything about it? Yeah, I heard it was terrible. I heard the game was boring as shit, too, for most people in social media. I heard the halftime show was very disappointing, specifically for the reason that I mentioned or someone asked me about. I think it was FD from Facebook either a week or two ago. He was like, oh, are you going to watch Halftime Heat or are you going to watch... I think it was last week he asked me about this. He's like, oh, you going to watch Halftime Heat or the Super Bowl halftime show, which may feature a live performance of Sweet Victory from that one SpongeBob episode, Band Geeks, from like 20 years ago. So they didn't play Band Geeks. They did play the intro to Band Geeks before leading into like Sicko Mode or whatever the fuck that song is. It's not by Maroon 5. I don't know. People thought Maroon 5 would do the Sweet Victory song. They didn't. People were very disappointed. And I don't blame them. I mean, I never really expected it to happen. But when their own Twitter account of the arena of the Super Bowl teases it and they don't deliver, that's kind of shitty. So I'm glad I tuned into Halftime Heat instead. Their next question, push, repackage, release. Bobby Lashley, Bobby Roode, and Braun Strowman. Push, I mean, this might surprise some people. Push Bobby Lashley. With Braun Strowman, I feel like they turned him face and heel so many times. This would be a completely different answer even a year ago. But Strowman, I just do not give two shits about him at this point. The guy can never win when it matters most. With Bobby, he can be a real good heel if they gave him the opportunity to be one. And he has been in recent months. So I would push Bobby Lashley, repackage Bobby Roode, turn him into a heel, and release Braun Strowman. I'm sure that would be a completely different answer for different people. Maybe it's because I'm a bigger Bobby Roode fan and a Bobby Lashley fan than I am a Braun Strowman. I know it's pure bias, I understand that, but Strowman just does not do enough for me at this point. Roode, I still think has potential if they turn him heel. Lashley can be a real player if they pushed him at that level. Strowman, they've given him so many opportunities, and it just never really pans out. So I would just release him and move on their way with Bobby and Bobby Roode. Bobby Lashley and Bobby Roode. Thoughts on the Worlds Collide tournament? I thought it was good. I thought it was odd that they aired it out of order. That was strange. So they aired some of the first round matches and some even second round matches on the YouTube channel, on the WWE YouTube channel earlier on in the day on Saturday, and then aired like the Battle Royal that determined the first round matches on the network, and then none of the first round matches. So I thought that was really, really weird. They could have done that in a lot better of an order than they did. But it was a good tournament, a lot of good wrestling. I thought Alexander and Tyler Bate, Cedric Alexander and Tyler Bate had a great match. Velveteen Dream and Jordan Devlin had a really good match. Bate and Dream in the main event had a really good match. There were a few great matches. Nothing like all that exciting overall. It was like a 4-hour show, and you combine the YouTube stream with the network stream. So I wouldn't watch the whole thing from beginning to end, and to watch it in order would be confusing. But overall, I thought it was a real good tournament. The final few matches and the semifinals and finals were great, and Dream earned a championship opportunity. So I thought it was a cool idea to do it at the WrestleMania, or rather Royal Rumble Access, that weekend, a weekend or two ago. So I thought that was a good idea. To see all the wrestlers from NXT UK, and 205 Live interacting was cool. And the matches were great, so I have no complaints. And the final question from @Scarlet1 was, thoughts on Asuka and how/if she'll be particularly featured on the road to WrestleMania? I honestly have no clue. It really all depends on whether Charlotte is facing Asuka at WrestleMania, or if she's going to be included in the aforementioned Raw Women's Championship match. We still have no idea. If she gets added to Becky and Ronda, Asuka is fucked. Because honestly, I have no idea who else they would pair her with if it's not Charlotte. I mean, as someone said, Nikki Cross, that would be a good idea, but that would not be a marquee match at all. That would probably be on the kickoff show, to be honest with you. Nikki Cross is, she just fucking lost the tag team match on Raw alongside Alicia Fox, so I doubt they would give her the time of day in the SmackDown Women's Championship match, but nonetheless. Who else would you do? Carmella, been there, done that. Naomi, been there, done that. The Iconics, no. Mandy Rose, no. Charlotte's really the only person that makes sense, so I hope it's Charlotte. If it's Charlotte, then yeah, she'll be featured, but she has not been seen since the Royal Rumble. She wasn't even mentioned last week. They aired a vignette video package for her this week, but no promo, no video package, or no appearance, no nothing from Asuka since the Rumble, which is really weird considering she beat the hottest star in the entire company, Becky Lynch, at the Rumble. So I don't know what's going on with Asuka right now. I don't know what they're doing with her. I would feature her more prominently on the road to WrestleMania, especially if she's facing Charlotte at the event. We likely won't know until after Chamber or Fastlane, but I don't think she'll be a big focal point of SmackDown heading into WrestleMania. I mean, she really hasn't been since she joined the brand back over a year ago. The only real time she's ever really been focused on SmackDown was in the lead up to TLC, when she won the SmackDown Women's Championship. Beyond that, Asuka has been a complete afterthought on SmackDown, which is a real shame considering her talent and potential. But hopefully it's not long before she gets back at the forefront of the women's division, which should already be the case considering she's the current SmackDown Women's Champion. But Becky Lynch is on SmackDown, Charlotte's on SmackDown. They're bigger stars than Asuka right now. So hopefully Asuka can work her way back into the forefront of that division and become a focal point coming out of WrestleMania, and ideally before WrestleMania as well. Likely after Elimination Chamber and Fastlane. So that does it, guys, for episode 271 of #AskGSM here today for February 6th, 2019. Thank you, as always, for tuning into the show. I appreciate your support. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more content. If you want to send in a question to the show, you can do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the #AskGSM. Find me on Facebook at facebook.com/graham.gsm.matthews. Leave a question on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section of this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. So with all that being said, guys, have a great rest of your week. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.